Hey everyone, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So I read yesterday that the American Psychological Association last week came out with a report that says that the high stress that parents are feeling as a result of the COVID-19 and coronavirus pandemic is the new normal for parents. And so I want to tell you, first of all, that as a parent, I believe that report. Right now, as parents, we have challenges that we've never faced before. Our routines are completely out the window. There's no more routines, right? There's no taking your kids to the park and letting them run around with other kids. There's no camps. There's no, obviously, school, which would be winding down about now anyway, but school has been not there for the last, almost 3 months, right? And so there are challenges that we've never had to face as parents in America before, right? Or at least not in our generation. And it happened so suddenly, right? And so I very much believe that this is true for most parents, right? But here's two things I want to tell you. Okay, number one, what I tell all of my clients, what I tell all of my, most of my friends, anyone who listens to me, any conversation that we could be in for any length of time, it's going to ultimately come around to the topic of stress, right? And so anytime I get to talk to somebody about stress, I tell them something that's very important, right? That stressors in life are inevitable. Okay, I don't care whether you live in Midtown Manhattan or a mountain in Montana, you are going to feel stressors in your life, or you're going to experience stressors in your life, right? But the stress that those stressors cause your body, that is completely optional. Okay, and this is because what a stressor is, first of all, what stress is itself, right? Stress is a transactional kind of thing that happens, right? A stressor is an outside experience, right? Something that happens in your life, something that happens every day, right? Something that causes you, that tends to cause you stress, right? But the stress is when you feel that stressor, right, outdoes or outweighs or overwhelms your internal resources to handle that stressor, right? And then you feel that there's an endangerment to your well-being. Okay, that's the cause and effect of stress, right? Now, most of the time, right now, stressors can be very physical things, right? Stressors can be, extreme cold or extreme hot, or they can be, lack of food. They can be real things in the real world, right? That can cause the body real stress, right? And that is what your body is made to do, right? So like if, for instance, if you're, feeling very hungry, right? That's a stressor, right? Like the hunger, the lack of food becomes the stressor. The stress that your body feels in terms of like, I got to get some food, right? That is what's made to motivate you to get food. Now, if you're a cheetah, that means go and catch yourself a gazelle or something, right? But if you're, obviously if you're a person in 21st century America, that means go to the store, get some food, do what you have to do, get some food in you, right? But the problem is, right, that the stressors, right, are often mental and emotional stressors, right? They're mostly things that we're, concerned about that are not something that is real that's going to happen right now. Right now, the problem here is that when we do feel overwhelmed by these external stressors, like COVID-19 for a parent, right? we when we feel this overwhelm, when we feel like we're being, when the external stressor of having to deal with our kids and our job and our everything all at the same time, right, in ways that we've never had to do before, right, when we feel that, we feel like it's overwhelming and taking over our internal resources, right? So when we do that, right, our body only knows how to respond to that mental and emotional feeling that's going on in a physical way. So your body is responding in the same way as though you were being attacked by something, right? Or you were, like feeling fear for your life, right? so so that's where I say, right, like again, the stress response is a transaction, right? And so the more we can do now, mostly, right, when I tell people, the big things in life that cause stressors, that cause stress in the body, right, or an engagement to the four big statuses, right, in your life, right. Now, this is most people, not necessarily parents, right. Actually, parents are excluded from this. Finance, romance, social, health, right? If you feel a threat to any one of those four statuses, right, you are going to enter into the stress response. Your blood pressure is going to rise, your heart rate's going to increase, your respiratory system's going to, get real quick and shallow. Various parts of your brain, the executive functioning of your brain, the memory center of your brain, shut down, offline, right? The digestive system, the immune system, the lymphatic system, the reproductive system, all these systems shut down, offline, not concerned, because again, the stress response is trying to survive something that's really meant to be for about a few minutes, right? Like a cheetah takes about, 5 minutes to chase down a gazelle, right? So the stress response that cheetah feels in terms of the fear of, like, if I don't get this gazelle, I'm gonna I'm gonna starve. And of course the stress that the gazelle feels is like, if I don't outrun this cheetah, I'm gonna die. But that lasts 5 minutes, right? But when we feel a threat to our finance, our romance, our social, or our health status, right? These are things that happen in our thoughts, and they can happen over and over and over and over again. Now, the big fifth one for parents, which can sometimes very much dwarf the other four, right, is that we're worried about how our kids are going to turn out, right? We worry about, like, what's going to happen to my kids watching all this television now? What's going to happen to my kids by not getting this socialization? What's going to happen to my kids without being in school and learning the way that they're supposed to? I don't feel qualified to teach them math and science and social studies. What's going to happen to them, right? And anytime you're thinking that what's gonna happen, that means that you're projecting into the future, right? And that means that you're worried about an outcome, and that is gonna cause the stress in your body, right? Now listen, 77% of American adults feel chronic stress, meaning every single day they get into that stress response. The high blood pressure, the the increased heart rate, the increased respiratory system, the shutting down of the memory center and the executive functioning of the brain, the shutting down of the digestive, the lymphatic, the immune, the reproductive, all these systems every day, right? Chronically for years, right? And so when that happens, of course, we open ourselves up to some very, very serious health risks. And as I've said, the executive functioning of your brain, like the way to figure out how to get your kids, socialized on Zoom calls or whatever, how to figure out what to do with your kids, those resources are gone, right? You're not in a place where you can even, creatively think of these solutions, right, to solve these problems, right? And so yes, I can totally understand why the American Psychological Association would report that, right? It makes perfect sense to me, right? But the thing I want you to know, okay, as parents and as anyone else out there, the stress that you're feeling, again, I can't emphasize this strongly enough. The stress that you're feeling in your body is not necessary. Okay, it's not helping you, and it's not necessary. Okay, if you were every day, walking through a really, dangerous neighborhood or something, then the stress would be serving you, right? The stress is making your senses more alive and keeping you on high alert so that you can run away from a threat, right? But if you're sitting home with your kids all day and trying to juggle a job and parenting your kids, the stress that you're feeling is not serving you, and it's not helping you, and it's not necessary, and it's only causing more problems than you're even aware of, right? So what do you do? Right? What's the solution here, Art? And by the way, I really feel like it's appropriate to mention that of course, this article was published last week, right? Or this report was published last week, right? And of course, in the last 7 days, we've now been faced with another national, like a serious national issue and a national emergency, if you will, right? I mean, the cities of America are burning right now with the rage of inequality, right? And this is a very important thing to be able to kind of, discuss with your children, and as parents, it's our duty to bring this to the light, right? Not to hide this and not to continue the same biases that have, that we grew up with, right? And so that's a topic for another time, but I felt it's important and appropriate to mention this, right? That this is another layer of what is going to cause people stress, right? Is how, the panic of feeling like, okay, now how do I deal with this on top of everything, right? Like, the fact that there's curfews in the cities. Not only are we being told to stay, just as we're being allowed out a little bit, now we're being told, that there's National Guardsmen, keeping people inside after 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Some cities 5 o'clock. So there's a lot going on here, right? And so the stress is not going to just naturally, disappear. It's here, and it's something that we need to deal with. Okay, so how do we deal with this stress, right? So there's a couple of different ways to approach it. Number one is a remedy kind of approach, right? Which is there are practices that you can do, and I'm going to give you one right now. There are practices that you can do to help relieve your stress in the moment, okay? To help bring yourself down. When you're in the stress response, it's your sympathetic nervous system. So to bring your body from the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Sympathetic nervous system speeds everything up. Parasympathetic nervous system slows it back down. So to do this, there's a really great little trick I'm going to show you, a great little exercise, okay? But more importantly, right, we can do little exercises every single day to train ourselves to be present and to be, because remember what I said, all the stress that you're feeling about romance, finance, health, and social status, as well as parenting status, it's almost always going to be a form of future-based thoughts, right? So the remedy to that is to train yourself not to be thinking about the future, thinking about right now. Okay, now I can answer questions. If you want to give me a call, let's set up a time to talk. I can certainly answer any questions you have about that. But here's the short-term trick, okay? And this is really amazing. I mean, I learned this not too long ago, and it's really, really effective. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your hand and just put your hand out like this, okay? Spread your fingers, hold your hand flat out, right? Just like your kids do when they say, give me a snack. Take your pointer finger, okay? Put it in like the middle of your palm here, right by where your wrist is, right? Now what you're going to do is you're going to sync your breath to the movement of this finger, okay? So what you're going to do is breathe in nice and slow, like not hurried, but as slowly as you feel comfortable, right? Just take a nice long in breath as you go up your thumb, and then exhale as you come back down your thumb. Nice long inhale up your pointer finger, and an exhale down your pointer finger. Inhale up your middle finger, exhale down your middle finger. Inhale all the way up your ring finger. Slowly exhale down the ring finger. Inhale up your pinky finger. And exhale nice and slow down your pinky finger. Now, I'm telling you, I didn't even do the exercise, but there's something about the tactile movement of your finger on your palm, and especially when you sync your breath up to that, you will feel yourself calm down. So try it. And of course, if the stress is especially high, do it on the other hand too. Do this hand and then do that hand. You can do either one. It doesn't really matter which one to do first. So anyway, great little trick for you. But again, the real key here is to form habits, because when things blow up, it's hard to remember to do this, right? So try that, now when you feel yourself, already kind of, in the stress response, then do that. But here's, I guess what I should have said a minute ago is that by doing the exercises of preemptive as opposed to reactive and remedy, right? If you preemptively, do some very simple practices, again, like 3 or 4 minutes every morning, you will avoid the stress response entirely, and you won't have to worry about doing something like this, right? It won't be necessary. So anyway, there's a little advice for you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it helps you. And if you'd like to talk more about this, if you'd like to learn some more of these very simple preemptive exercises, drop a comment below. Let me know. I would love to talk to you. Have a great day, everyone. I wish you well.